Hey everyone, Aliana here. Today's video is how much of yourself should you be sharing in a personal brand? This might come as a surprise to you, but you are not the brand. I know when I realized this, it was like a revelation. It's like I had so much resistance to the idea of building a personal brand. I always thought it was silly, like self-important. I was like, why would I want to build a personal brand? It shouldn't be about me. It should be about the business. But at the same time, I knew that I needed to start showing up. The reason why I didn't have a personal brand or I wasn't consciously building one was because I was afraid to show up and be seen. And part of me wanted to share my perspective. And I was kind of denying that to myself more than I was denying it to everybody else. I was denying it to myself first. I was like, no, I don't want that. Okay. So this question came up a couple times in the last few weeks. And I thought, you know what? I probably should make a video about it because I know there was a time when I needed to hear this message. So a personal brand, it doesn't mean that you are the brand. You are not the brand. You are never going to be the brand. And how much of yourself you need to be sharing in a personal brand is completely up to you. You actually don't have to share anything personal or inappropriate. I know this one used to throw me off a little bit, this idea of being quote unquote vulnerable. It seemed that a lot of people who were building personal brands were sharing too much information that I didn't feel comfortable sharing about my personal life. And I felt that I didn't want to do that. I guess what I had to learn is to make a distinction between building a personal brand versus becoming a social media influencer. And no wonder I was not interested in that because I don't want to be that, that's not what I'm trying to build. So when I started Brands Are Alive, I thought I needed to have a personal brand. And that's the only reason why I was sharing what I was sharing. And then as I kept creating content for myself, I was like, oh, wow, I actually really love and enjoy this. Even though I have a ton of resistance to it, there's another part of me that's feeling more and more fully self-expressed because I am creating content and I'm sharing my point of view. So I started to see more and more the value of it, but I never really wanted to create anything like that. I never wanted to create a social media shallow, follower at all costs, kind of slave to the algorithm type of thing. That's like, nope, I don't want to be part of that and I don't want to create that. So if you're in this boat right now and you're feeling like you want to build a personal brand, but you don't want that, you don't want to share too much information that's personal to you, you're wondering why do you even need to do it in the first place? It's as simple as asking yourself if there's a point of view behind your business. You don't need to have a personal brand. But when your brand is centered around your personal perspective and your point of view, then you need a personal brand. Yes, you can build a company with like a product or service where you're behind the scenes, nobody knows you exist. You're not building the brand around who you are. You can do that, absolutely. And you can communicate the values of your brand through the creations that you put out. So the product will speak of the values of the business, the way you treat your team if you have one, will speak of who you are and how you perceive the world and how you perceive the industry that you're in. But there's something to be said for being the visible speaker, the ambassador of your point of view, of your message, of your perspective. And if your business is very much built on purpose or on the idea of creating impact, like if there's something you genuinely deeply care about, then you have got to be visible. You can't keep hiding. Okay. When you start to see it that way, you understand that it's not about you being completely open with every single detail in your life with complete strangers, or that you have to share too much of yourself if you don't want to. You don't have to. And in fact, I plan on building a brand that's completely around the work. Like, I don't want to be known for my personal stuff. I have so many stories that I know I could tell in ways that could easily get me a lot of attention, but I don't want to be known for those stories. I don't want to be known for the centralized, crazy, things. I want to be known for my work and I want to be known for the things that I create. So even though I'm building a personal brand, at the center of it is the work that I do, the message that I have, and why I'm doing it. And you can very well build something like this where it's completely peaceful and personal. You don't have to share anything personal at all. You do not have to share anything that you are not comfortable with. I wish somebody explained this to me when I was first starting out, because I was so afraid that I was going to lose control, that I was going to open up this gate to complete strangers to be part of my life. And people sometimes will ask, and you just have to have strong boundaries and know what you're comfortable or not comfortable sharing, and that's it. And as far as vulnerability, the real meaning of it is not to share things that you don't want to share on the internet. The real meaning of vulnerability is that you're not trying to appear like you have all the answers in whatever field you're in or whatever work you're doing. You don't want to appear like I came out of the gate knowing all the answers and I'm an untouchable expert and I make no mistakes. Because when you do that, people don't trust that, because it just seems like, it seems very untrustworthy, and it probably is. If somebody, claims to have all the answers to everything, that has to like raise a red flag in you. But more than that, when you look at somebody who seems like they're just so freaking cool and untouchable, it doesn't really inspire you to follow their methods or to listen to them, because it has nothing to do with them. Sometimes it has something to do with ourselves, where we look at this person that is so amazing, is so cool, but like, I can't follow your way because you are successful, because you are special. And this is a trap that a lot of influencers and creators and experts fall in, is that because they try to portray themselves in such perfected ways, like they have all the answers to everything, they could never make any mistake, they don't want to build publicly. And because of that, people look at that and go, well, you've always had the answers, I don't know, you just have the Midas touch, but I can't figure it out, or you can't understand my problem. If, for example, if I wanted to guide you to become more fully self-expressed on camera, if you're somebody who used to think of yourself as an introvert, you hate attention, you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be on social media, who are you more likely to listen to? Are you more likely to listen to the person who shared the same emotions and experiences and overcame them and came back to you with honesty and openness and said, hey, I experienced those things, I know what it feels like, and here's what I learned, and I'm sharing with you vulnerably and openly, here has been my experience, here's how I helped myself and other people, here's how my framework was created, here are my challenges, here are the things I know answers to and the things that I don't know the answers to? Would you trust that person? Or are you more likely to trust the person who's like, my whole life, I don't know, ever since I can remember, ever since I was a child, I've always been just so fucking perfect. Like, I've always been so amazing, been super confident. I've always been so fully self-expressed, and like, I'm just amazing like that. Which one are you going to go, you know what, I'm gonna pay you, even though the other person may actually be so much more accomplished than the other person. They seem to have it figured out even more than the other person. But because you can see your own reflection in their story, you don't, that's what we mean by vulnerability. That's what we mean by it. It's that I can see myself in you, and your story inspires me to think, you know what, if this person can do it, I can do it. That's the extent to which you want to share personal things or personal stories, if you want to. And there's always a way to do that in a way that feels aligned for you, that you don't feel like you're sharing too much of yourself. I wish I knew these things when I was thinking about this. I had so much resistance to the idea, because I wasn't using social media for like my personal life. I also kept it privately the entire time. So I was like, I'm not gonna be one of those people who tells a sob story about my entrepreneurial journey and that sort of thing. Throughout the years, I've started to feel more and more comfortable sharing personal things and stories, and I'm always aware of the energy of where the story is coming from. I always check that the story is really told to help drive a point home, and not to try to sort of influence people or sway them, play with their emotions and that sort of thing, because that's something that I know it's very common, to do in marketing and in business. And of course, we want to connect to people emotionally, but we don't want to become manipulative. So I'm aware of those things. I'm also aware of, like, again, like I said, this is really big for me. I want to be known for the right reasons. This matters to me. I want the brand to be known for certain things. I don't want it to be about a cool, interesting story or something, because I have a lot of interesting stories, but I don't want it to be about that. So it was a relief for me to realize that I am not the brand, that it's not about me. It really, even though it's a personal brand, it's about sharing my perspective. It's my perspective about the work. A very high degree of vulnerability there, by the way, even if you're not talking about personal things. And that's because when you're talking about something you care about, something you love, something that's based on a story, a personal story, based on your life's message, based on what you found your purpose to be, when you're creating something like that, a creative work, it's very vulnerable. It's very personal, especially when you're carving out something that hasn't been there before, that you're creating almost from scratch. Of course, you're putting yourself on the line. Of course, you're making yourself vulnerable, but it's not because you're sharing anything that you don't feel comfortable putting out. So, to recap, you don't have to create a personal brand, but in some cases, it not only makes sense, it, in my opinion, is the only way to do it. And that is if you have a point of view, a perspective, a message to share, if you have something to share that could benefit from an advocate, a devoted person, an ambassador of some sort, then you're going to be that person. If you believe in this message, you're going to put your face behind it and you're going to support it. And that's what it means to build a personal brand, is to have ideas and thoughts and perspectives that you want to share, and an expression of who you are, and you want to put it out there in the world. So you have to show up for it. It doesn't mean that you have to share anything that you're not comfortable with. It doesn't mean that you have to share anything that's too personal to you. You have complete control. And if you want to, you don't have to share anything that is personal. And the real meaning of vulnerability is not to say things that make you feel like you're naked or like you're unprotected. Instead, what you want to do is try to be just a little bit more vulnerable, maybe 1% more open than you normally are, but feeling that fear, that resistance, and doing it anyway when you know that it's okay, I can share this, I can allow people to see this side of me, and I'm ready for that. But at the same time, it's not so much that you feel like you've opened up completely and now you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling like you are easy to attack. Not that there's anything that you have to worry about, but I want you to take a gradual approach to sharing more of who you are and doing it in a way that feels easy, that feels like the next logical thing to do. But again, vulnerability is not about sharing personal things. It's really about showing that you are okay with being seen as someone who doesn't have the answers to everything, that you're not to be put on some sort of pedestal, because when that happens, people can't relate to you. And when they can't relate to you, they can't see themselves in your journey. And if they can't see themselves in your journey, they're just not going to be very encouraged to learn with you, to be vulnerable with you, to open up to you. They're just going to think that you've always had the answers. And it's because you're special. There's something about you that they can't replicate. And your method, your solution is not going to work for them anyway, because you've always been that way. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know, what is your biggest resistance to building a personal brand? If you're watching this anywhere other than Brands Are Alive, go to brandsarealive.com/mojo. Subscribe to get a video like this every week. My name is Eliana Kali, and I will see you soon.